what you think might be an abandoned rental property. But proceeding as if the tenant is long gone can be a costly mistake. When it comes to abandoned rentals, avoid these 3 common mistakes. Mistake number 1 is to assume that the property is abandoned when it's not. And how do you find that the property is not abandoned? Usually, there could be an unusual circumstances such as an extended trip or vacation, a business that the tenant has taken a business trip, or possibly the tenant might be serving some time in jail that you're not aware of. So when you get into the property, you need to first document, you need to first check if there are any valuables left behind. If there is, then you need to document it and send your information to the local police station just to be able to avoid this. Also, you need to have spoken to the neighbors to confirm that indeed your tenant is long gone and is never coming back. Sometimes the tenant might have partially paid you, but the tenant will be nowhere to be found, right? And you using that to take the tenant out because you cannot reach the tenant can be detrimental to you as a landlord. So you need to make sure that all these processes have been followed right before you can consider the unit as an abandoned unit. Mistake number 2 is disposing of personal properties. You know, sometimes the tenant might have left the property in a rush, or because maybe you've served the tenant with an eviction notice, they just decided to leave the property. And the mistake that most new landlords make is they take over the property that belongs to the tenant. And that is not the case, because if you take over the tenant belongings, the tenant can sue you for it. You need to follow the right procedure in order to take ownership of the belongings that the tenant has left behind. And there are so many ways of doing that. Once you manage to do that, then you can maybe sell the tenant's property and recoup some loss that you've made, or you can give it to charity. Mistake number 3 is failing to document the process. Even if you've covered all the bases in judging that your property is truly abandoned, you have to document the process. This is very essential. You must take photos of the property so that you can keep the inventory list of how the property was and how it was left behind by your tenant. You must also collect all information such as your levy statement or the municipality bills, or even the tenant invoice that you've been sending to your tenant to show how much was left behind, or how much the tenant was owing you. You must also collect every single document that you have with the tenant. By that I mean you must keep copies of all official letters or notices that you've given to your tenants. Write down the names, dates and times of interviews that you had with the neighbors or the tenant emergency contact, and keep summary of that conversation. It's very key. Document the moving and storing of any possessions left behind by the tenant in the form of invoices and receipts. So once you've avoided these 3 common mistakes, you can go ahead and put a tenant in your unit. Guys, don't forget to be legacy builders. Remember, each one teach one. Until next time, see you in the next video, and don't forget to subscribe. Cheers. Be a legacy builder. Watch the next video and don't forget to subscribe.